God message for you today. The story begins in the ethereal realm, where a guardian angel named Siriel is observing the world below. Siriel has always watched over a particular soul, a person who walks through life unaware of the unseen battles being fought around them. But lately, something has changed. Dark forces have started closing in, tightening their grip on the soul Siriel is sworn to protect. One evening, as the sun sets, the angel's heart becomes heavy with sorrow. Siriel can feel the malevolent energy growing, and the sense of urgency overwhelms him. His wings tremble with dread, knowing that something must be done. With a voice filled with grief and desperation, Siriel speaks directly to the soul he protects. I am bound by the laws of heaven to shield you, but what they are doing to you in the shadows is beyond what I alone can stop. You are blind to their schemes, walking in a fog of confusion and fear, and I can no longer stand by and watch in silence. The forces working against you are subtle, slipping into your mind through doubt, through the whispers of despair and hopelessness. They make you question your worth, make you believe you are not enough, not loved, not cherished by the one who created you. Every lie they feed you is a chain wrapped around your spirit. I can see them. These invisible chains tightening, suffocating the light within you. But there is hope. Siriel pauses, wings spreading wide as a beam of light begins to descend from the heavens. You must understand, your battle is not just against flesh and blood. It is against the unseen powers of darkness. But you are not powerless. If you will only open your heart, if you will only look beyond the chaos and see the one who stands ready to save you, the chains will break. The angel's voice trembles, tears falling like stars, glittering and bright. I cry not because all is lost, but because you are not yet aware of the power that lies within you. The light of God surrounds you, waiting for you to call upon it. Reach out, pray, and call on His name, for the darkness cannot stand where His light shines. Siriel points toward the heavens, where a brilliant light is forming into a radiant figure. God Himself, His presence overwhelming, full of grace. He waits for you, child. He is calling your name even now. All the lies they are telling you will fall to the ground as dust. But you must awaken. You must choose to see the truth that God is for you, not against you. In that moment, the darkness surrounding you begins to tremble, sensing the approach of divine power. Siriel's tears turn from sorrow to joy as he knows the battle is shifting. He raises his voice one last time. Do not delay. The forces that bind you are strong, but God is stronger. Open your heart now and let His light free you from the darkness. And as the angel's voice fades, the light of heaven grows brighter, pushing the shadows further and further away. The choice is before you, to remain bound by the lies, or to step into the freedom that awaits when you turn to the one who has never stopped loving you. The angel continues to watch, praying that today will be the day you realize the truth and step into the light. As Siriel's words hang in the air, a heavy stillness settles around you. The angel's tear-filled plea echoes within your mind, stirring something deep inside, a longing to understand, a desire to break free from the invisible chains that have quietly wrapped around your heart. For the first time, you feel their weight. The dark thoughts, the constant whispers of inadequacy and hopelessness, the invisible pressure pushing down on your spirit. All of it comes rushing into focus. It's as if a veil has been lifted, and you can finally see the battle that Serial has been fighting on your behalf all along. In that moment, you realize, this isn't just my mind playing tricks on me. The pain, the doubt, the fear, they are not simply my own. They are the work of something unseen, something malevolent that has been creeping into my life, twisting my perception and clouding my sense of self-worth. But now you see it. As your eyes lift toward the sky, you sense the presence of God. It's not something you can fully describe, but it's there. A powerful, loving force that feels so near, so protective. The same God that Serial spoke of, the one who has been waiting for you to recognize the truth. Suddenly, a surge of anger rises in your chest, not directed at yourself, but at the lies that have been holding you captive for so long. The lies that told you you weren't enough, that you had failed too many times, that God could never love someone as flawed as you. The lies were never yours to carry. In a bold, trembling whisper, you speak for the first time. God, help me see the truth. Help me break free from these chains. The moment the words leave your lips, a shift begins. It's subtle at first, like a breeze sweeping through the room, but it builds into something more, a warmth, a sense of peace that begins to wash over you. You feel the heaviness around your heart loosening, as though the very chains Serial spoke of are falling away. Suddenly you hear a voice, gentle yet firm. It is not Serial's voice, but something deeper, more powerful. I have always been here. The voice reverberates through your soul, and you know in that instant that it is God Himself speaking to you. You have believed many lies, but none of them can change the truth. I made you. I love you. And I will never leave you. The darkness you've been battling has no power over you. Not when you call on me. I am the light that shatters all darkness, and you are mine. Tears begin to fall from your eyes, not out of sorrow, but out of release. Release from the weight you've been carrying for so long. For the first time in what feels like ages, you feel light. You feel seen. You feel loved. And as God's words fill your heart, the darkness that once seemed so suffocating starts to dissolve, like mist in the morning sun. The lies that once whispered in your ear fall silent, replaced by the overwhelming truth of God's love for you. Serial stands by your side, watching with joy as the chains fully disintegrate. His wings, once heavy with sorrow, now glow with the light of heaven. He had cried in horror, not because the darkness was too strong, but because he longed for you to see what he had always known, that you were never alone, that God was always fighting for you. As the final shadows disappear, you take a deep breath, feeling a sense of peace and freedom you've never known before. The battles may continue, The challenges of life may still come, but now you know the truth. You are not fighting alone. God is with you, always. And as the angel Siriel watches over you, he smiles, knowing that you have finally stepped into the light. As the divine presence lingers, you stand there, feeling both overwhelmed and grounded by the love and peace now filling your heart. The weight of doubt, fear, and uncertainty that once burdened you seems like a distant memory. You've been set free, not only by the angel's words, but by the undeniable truth that God Himself has spoken into your spirit. In this moment of clarity, you realize that life will still have its struggles. The world around you hasn't changed, but something deep inside you has. You're no longer bound by the lies that once controlled your thoughts and decisions. The chains are gone. The darkness has no claim on you anymore. Siriel, still beside you, radiates with an energy you haven't seen before. His eyes reflect joy, his tears replaced by a look of hope and pride. He knows that his mission has not ended, but it has reached a crucial turning point. You have awakened. You've begun to see, haven't you? The angel says softly, his voice warm like sunlight. The battles will come, yes, but now you know who fights with you. You are never alone in this. What they were doing to you, the lies, the deceit, the darkness, it has been exposed. And now you are walking in the truth. The sky above seems to open wider, as if the heavens themselves are rejoicing. You can feel it. The celebration of angels, the joy of God's heart as you step deeper into the knowledge of His love for you. Siriel steps closer, his presence comforting, like an old friend. You'll be tested again, he continues, because the darkness doesn't give up easily. But each time you face those whispers of doubt, remember this moment. Remember the truth that was spoken to you today. Remember the light that has shattered the shadows. You nod, feeling both empowered and humbled by what has just taken place. You understand now that while the external challenges may still be present, the real battle, the one within your heart and mind, has shifted in your favor. You are no longer defenseless against the enemy's schemes. You've been armed with the truth, and the truth will set you free time and time again. The angel places a hand on your shoulder, and his touch is filled with warmth and strength. God is always with you, Siriel says with conviction. And I will continue to watch over you, to guide and protect you as I have always done. But now you are equipped with a greater power, the knowledge of who you are in God's eyes. You feel a surge of confidence rise within you. For the first time in a long time, you believe in your own worth, not because of anything you've done, but because of the one who created you and calls you his own. You are loved. You are cherished. You are his. As the angel's words settle in your heart, you notice the world around you start to shift back to normal. The ethereal glow begins to fade, and the weight of reality returns. But it's different now, lighter, brighter. You've been given a new perspective, and with it comes an unshakable peace. Siriel begins to step away, his wings slowly stretching as he prepares to ascend once more. But before he leaves, He turns to you one last time. "Never forget," he says, his voice firm yet filled with love. "You are a child of God, and nothing, no force of darkness, no lie of the enemy, can ever take that away from you." With those final words, the angel lifts into the sky, disappearing into the light from which he came. You watch him go, knowing that though you may not always see him, he will always be there, watching over you, guiding you. And as you stand alone once again, you feel the truth settle into the deepest parts of your soul. The chains are broken. The lies have been silenced. You are free. As you turn to face the rest of your life, you do so with a new strength, a strength that comes not from yourself, but from the one who has called you by name, the one who has never and will never leave your side. And as you walk forward, you know that whatever comes next, you will face it with courage, faith, and the unshakable truth that God is always with you. In the days that follow, the clarity and peace you found in that divine moment remain with you. Yet, as Serial had warned, the world continues to present its challenges. Old doubts sometimes try to creep back into your thoughts, and familiar fears rise when life circumstances grow difficult. But now, each time you feel the weight of anxiety or the whispers of unworthiness, you remember that sacred encounter. You remember Serial's words, the angel's cry, his desperate plea for you to open your eyes. And you remember God's own voice, soft yet powerful, telling you that you are His. You begin to live differently. Small changes first. You start your mornings with quiet moments of reflection, breathing in the peace of God's presence before the day begins. Each time a negative thought tries to take hold, you immediately confront it, reminding yourself of the truth. I am loved. I am worthy. I am never alone. At work, you notice how the stress that once consumed you no longer holds the same power. The pressures still come, deadlines loom, and people's expectations can feel overwhelming, but there is a new confidence in you. You trust that no matter how chaotic things may seem, you are guided by something greater. The invisible battle is no longer something you fight alone. God is with you in every moment, and His strength sustains you. As the weeks pass, this newfound strength begins to affect those around you. Friends and family notice a shift in you, a calmness, a quiet assurance that wasn't there before. You are more patient, more present, more compassionate. You listen more intently, speak with greater kindness, and offer words of encouragement that seem to come from a deeper place within you. One evening, as you sit with a close friend who's going through a difficult time, you feel a stirring in your heart. The same stirring you felt when Serial spoke to you. Your friend is overwhelmed by life's struggles, burdened by a sense of hopelessness, much like you were not so long ago. As they speak, you can sense the same lies, the whispers of inadequacy and despair, binding their spirit. Without hesitation, you reach out and place a hand on their arm, looking into their eyes with sincerity and love. "You're not alone in this," you say gently. "I've been where you are, And I know how it feels to carry those heavy thoughts, to feel like you're stuck in the darkness. But I want you to know something. I want you to know that there is hope. You are loved, and you don't have to do this by yourself. God sees you, and He's waiting for you to call on Him. Your words carry weight, not because they're your own, but because you're speaking from the truth that has transformed your life. As you speak, you feel the presence of God filling the space between you and your friend, just as He had filled the space around you when Serial's voice first broke through the silence. Your friend's eyes well with tears, not from sadness, but from the same release you felt when the chains around your own heart were broken. You see it in their expression, the moment when the veil lifts and the truth begins to seep in. They nod slowly, wiping their tears, and for the first time in a long time, you see a glimmer of hope in their eyes. In that moment, you realize something profound. The light that set you free wasn't meant for you alone. It's meant to be shared, to be passed on to others who are still caught in the darkness. The battles that once seemed so overwhelming are now opportunities to bring light to those who are still struggling to see. And so you continue walking forward, no longer just for yourself, but for those around you who need to know the same truth you've discovered. Each day, you are reminded that the battles are not over, but neither is the grace that sustains you. With every step, you carry the light of God's love within you, shining it into the darkest corners of the world, one soul at a time. And though Serial is unseen, you know He is still there, watching, guiding, and celebrating every victory along the way. His tears of sorrow have long turned to joy, for He knows that you have embraced the calling set before you, to walk in the truth and share it with the world. From this day forward, your life is no longer defined by the chains of the past, but by the freedom that comes from knowing who you truly are, a beloved child of God, unshakable in His love, and a beacon of light to all those still searching for their way home. As time moves on, your life begins to reflect the inner transformation in ways you hadn't expected. You're more attuned to the needs of others, noticing the subtle signs of struggle that once seemed invisible to you. Whether in the workplace, with friends, or even with strangers, you've developed a sensitivity to the unseen battles people face, the same battles you once fought alone. One afternoon, you find yourself in a quiet park, sitting on a bench and watching the world go by. The gentle rustling of the leaves and the soft hum of life around you feel like a comforting reminder of God's ever-present peace. As you reflect, you realize just how far you've come since that encounter with Serial, since the chains of darkness were broken. It feels like a different lifetime now, but just as you begin to feel content in this peace, something shifts. You notice a young woman sitting on a nearby bench, her shoulders hunched and her gaze fixed on the ground. There's a heaviness about her that's all too familiar, a weight in her spirit that you can sense, even from a distance. It's the same darkness you once carried, the same lies that tried to suffocate your soul. In that moment, a deep compassion wells up inside you. You don't know her story, but you recognize her pain. You feel that same stirring in your heart, the gentle nudge you've come to know as God's call. This time, though, there's no hesitation. You rise from the bench and walk over, gently sitting beside her. You don't speak right away, just offering your presence in the stillness. After a few moments, she glances at you, her eyes red and weary. "Hey," you say softly, offering a kind smile. "I don't know what you're going through, but I can see that it's heavy. I've been there too, and I just want you to know you're not alone." Her lip quivers, and she lets out a shaky breath, as if holding back a flood of emotion. "I don't know if I can keep going," she whispers, her voice barely audible. "Everything feels so dark, like there's no way out." Your heart aches for her, but it's an ache born out of understanding. You've been in that same place, and you know exactly how suffocating it can feel. But you also know the way out, the path to light and freedom. "I understand," you say, your voice filled with empathy. "I know how it feels when the darkness seems overwhelming, when the lies make you feel like you're not enough, like there's no hope. But I need you to know something. The darkness doesn't have the final say. There is hope, and there's a God who loves you so much, who sees you even in the middle of all this." She looks at you, her eyes searching for something. Perhaps a reason to believe, perhaps just a sliver of hope to hold on to. "How can you be so sure?" she asks, her voice trembling. "How can you know that God is even there?" You take a deep breath, recalling your own journey, remembering the moment when you first heard Serial's desperate plea, the moment when God Himself spoke to your heart. You know exactly what she's asking, because you once asked the same thing. "Because I've been where you are," you say, your voice steady and sure. "I was trapped in the same darkness, believing the same lies. But there was a moment when it all changed, when I realized that God had been there all along, waiting for me to see Him. He spoke to me in a way that I can't fully explain, but I knew in that moment that I was loved, that I wasn't alone." Tears begin to stream down her face as she listens, her walls crumbling as your words reach her. She doesn't speak, but you can see the faintest glimmer of hope in her eyes, a light that's just starting to break through the darkness. "Listen," you continue. "I don't have all the answers, and I can't promise that everything will be easy. But I can promise you this. If you reach out to God, if you open your heart even just a little, He will meet you right where you are. He'll break the chains, just like He did for me. The darkness can't stand in His presence." The silence between you is thick with emotion, but it's not the suffocating silence of despair. It's the sacred stillness of something deeper, something holy. You can feel God moving, His presence wrapping around you both like a blanket of peace. After what feels like an eternity, she whispers, "I want that. I want to believe He's there. But I'm so afraid." You reach out and gently take her hand, offering a reassuring squeeze. "It's okay to be afraid. But you don't have to face this alone. God is with you, and He'll give you the strength to take the next step, even if it's just a small one. All you have to do is ask Him." Her head drops, and she lets out a sob, a release of all the pain and fear that's been bottled up for so long. You sit with her, not rushing her, just being present in this holy moment. Finally, through her tears, she says softly, "God, if you're there, I need you. Please help me." The simplicity of her prayer cuts through the noise, and in that instant, you feel the atmosphere shift. The same peace that filled your heart when God first spoke to you now fills the space around you both. It's as though heaven itself is rejoicing as another soul begins to step into the light. You stay with her a while longer, comforting her, sharing more of your story, and encouraging her to keep reaching out to God. You know that this is just the beginning of her journey, but it's a beginning marked by hope and the promise of freedom. As you leave the park, you feel a deep sense of gratitude wash over you. You've become a vessel for God's love and truth, sharing the light that once saved you with those who are still searching for it. And as you walk away, you know that Serial is watching, smiling, and rejoicing in this new victory. The battle is ongoing, but you now walk with purpose, knowing that every step you take is not just for yourself, but for others who need the same freedom. You are a light bearer, a living testament to God's grace, and you will continue to shine in the darkness, bringing hope to those who need it most. And in the quiet of your heart, you hear God's voice again, soft and steady. "Well done, my child. Keep going. I am always with you." The days and weeks pass, and the encounters like the one with the young woman in the park become more frequent. Each time, you feel a deep connection with those who cross your path, sensing the unseen battles in their hearts, the same struggles that once consumed you. It becomes clear to you that this is part of your purpose. God has called you to be a light for others, to help them see the truth, just as Serial once helped you. But as you continue walking this path, you also begin to notice the subtle resurgence of resistance. It's not the overwhelming darkness that once held you captive, but smaller, quieter doubts. They creep in when you least expect them, whispering lies that try to undermine your confidence, telling you that your impact is insignificant, that you're not really making a difference. At first, you brush these thoughts aside, but over time, they become more persistent. One evening, after a particularly challenging day, you sit alone in your room, the weight of those doubts pressing down on you. You wonder if you're really strong enough to continue this work, if you're truly equipped to help others when your own heart still wrestles with uncertainty. In the stillness, you bow your head, whispering a prayer into the quiet. "God, I need you now more than ever. I feel weak, and the doubts are creeping back in. Please remind me again of the truth. Help me to see clearly." For a moment, there is only silence, and you wait, heart heavy, hoping for an answer. And then, as if carried on the wind, you hear a familiar voice. You were never meant to carry this alone. You recognize it immediately. Serial. Lifting your head, you feel a presence in the room, though nothing is visible. The warmth of the angel's presence fills the space, and though you can't see him, you know he is there. "Why do you doubt?" Serial's voice is soft, filled with compassion. You are not expected to do this in your own strength. You are a vessel of God's light, but the light itself comes from Him, not from you. You must remember this. Your worth, your ability to help others, your impact. It is not measured by your own strength, but by the one who moves through you. His words sink deep into your heart, and you begin to realize the truth you had forgotten. All this time, you had been trying to bear the weight of your mission alone, as if it were solely up to you to change the lives of others. But Siriel's reminder cuts through the noise of doubt. It was never about you alone. It has always been God's work through you. Let go of the need to control the outcome, Siriel continues. Your job is to shine the light you've been given, to speak the truth, and to love as God has called you to. The rest is in His hands. The seeds you plant may not always grow as quickly as you wish, but trust that they will grow. You may not always see the fruits of your efforts, but trust that God sees, and He is the one who brings the increase. A deep sense of relief washes over you, as if a heavy burden is being lifted from your shoulders. You realize that the pressure you had placed on yourself was unnecessary, that the doubts were trying to distract you from the simple truth. You are called to be faithful, not perfect. It is God who does the work in the hearts of others. You take a deep breath, feeling the peace return. Thank you, you whisper. I needed to hear that. Siriel's presence lingers, a calming force in the room. You are never alone, he reminds you once more. The battles will continue, but you are not fighting them by yourself. God's strength is in you, and I am always by your side. Remember that the darkness has already been defeated. What you face now are only echoes of a defeated enemy. His words fill you with a new sense of strength, not a strength born of self-reliance, but one rooted in the power of God's love and presence. You stand up, feeling lighter, more grounded in the truth. You are doing more good than you know, Siriel adds gently. Trust that every act of kindness, every word of encouragement, every moment you spend with those in need is part of a greater plan. You may not always see the immediate results, but know that heaven rejoices with every step you take in faith. With that, the warmth in the room begins to fade, and you know that Siriel is preparing to leave. But this time, you don't feel the same sense of loss when his presence disappears. Instead, you feel empowered, reminded that you are never truly alone, even when you can't see him. As the room returns to its normal stillness, you sit for a moment, reflecting on the conversation. You feel a renewed sense of purpose, a clearer understanding of your role in this journey. You don't need to carry the burden of every outcome. God is in control. Your task is simply to keep walking in faith, shining the light you've been given, trusting that God is working through you in ways you cannot always see. The doubts may come again, but now you know how to face them, with the truth that has been spoken into your heart time and time again. You are not alone, and God's strength is enough. As you prepare to rest for the night, you whisper one last prayer of gratitude. Thank you, God, for always being with me, for reminding me that it's your light, not mine, that changes hearts. I trust you, and I will keep going. And with that, you close your eyes, feeling the peace of God's presence wrap around you like a shield. You know that tomorrow will bring new challenges, but you are ready to face them, armed with the truth, grounded in love, and walking in the light that no darkness can overcome. The next morning, you wake up with a renewed sense of peace and purpose. The lingering doubts from the previous night seem distant, as if they've been swept away by the quiet assurance of God's presence. You remember Serial's words clearly. Share this video if you love God. Subscribe this channel for more blessings. Type yes if you believe.